Dear viewers, you're welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. The United Nations organization contradicts the Cameroon government and maintains that 23 persons were killed in the Ngarbu incident in the Ndonga-Mantum Division, northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. It should be indicated that the official death toll stands at 5 persons, according to the government of the Republic of Cameroon. And we also interviewed a member of a family of 9 persons, a family in which 9 persons were killed in that incident in the northwest region of the country. You will hear that testimony in this newscast. Stay with us. The United Nations organization has maintained that 23 persons were killed in the last incident, the most recent and deadliest incident in Anglophone Cameroon. And of course, I'm talking about the Ngarbu incident in the Ndonga-Mantum Division, northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. And this is in sharp contrast with the official figures of the Cameroon government, which indicates that 5 persons, including 4 children and a woman, were killed in that incident. The United Nations has condemned that incident. And we also interviewed a member of a family that lost 9 persons in that incident. Smanjikan Gabriel has more.
72 hours after the massacre at Ngambu Ntumbo village in Du subdivision of the Northwest region, the spokesperson of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights says 23 people were brutally killed, mostly children.
The attack on the 14th of February on a village in Cameroon that left 23 people dead, the majority of them children, is a shocking episode in the ongoing crisis that's been afflicting the northwest and southwest regions, that's the Anglophone regions, for the past 3 years.
The number given by the spokesperson of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights differs from that given by the government spokesperson Emmanuel René Sadi on Tuesday, which he said 5 persons died, 1 woman and 4 kids.
According to information from UN colleagues on the ground, among the 23 people killed were 15 children, 9 of whom were under the age of 5. The victims also included 2 pregnant women, one of whom died of her injuries in hospital.
The killing at Ngambu Ntumbo village, according to the spokesperson, their weakness on the ground gave them a different information.
Witnesses to the attack said that some 40 armed men, including members of the security and defense forces, attacked the village, which is in the department of Ndonga-Mantum in northwest Cameroon, opening fire on the people and burning down houses.
Even though the spokesperson for the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights acknowledged the efforts made by Cameroon's government in opening an investigation,
We note that the Cameroon government announced 17th of February that there would be an investigation into the killings and that the findings would be made public.
he urged that the investigation should be independent, impartial and thorough.
So we urge the authorities to ensure that the investigation is independent, impartial and thorough, and that those responsible are held fully to account.
While waiting for the investigation, victims of the massacre continue to cry out loud.
Only thing that I want to say is that they have killed my sister and her daughters. I don't know who killed them. I don't know. If not Amber, it's Ami. If not Ami, is Amber. Then I don't know. The daughter of my sister, she went to visit her mother with all her children. Then when they slept in the night, around 2 o'clock, for the information that I get, then they came, knocked the door, took my sister outside, then shoot her on the foot before they shoot her. Then they take her daughter. That is the second born. Then they shoot her. Then the last, her last daughter, they shoot her too, and then the rest of the people. And the information that I got is that after the shooting, they burned the house.
I'm lack of words. Oh my God. Oh my God. They have finished all my family. My mother, my sisters and my sister's daughter, children. They are all gone. I'm just tired of myself. I'm lack of words. Oh my God. What is happening? Hey, it's more than fear. Hey, it's more than what I can hold. People, you people should find a solution. I'm tired. Oh, my family!
Due to the massacre, the Diocese of Kombo has chosen February 21st, 2020 as a day to pray for the souls of those who were lost during the massacre of 14 February 2020.
The human rights arm of the United Nations organization revealing its own facts on the Ngarbo incident in Ndonga Mantum Division, northwest region of the country, and we decided not to unveil the identity of the persons testifying on the Ndonga Mantum incident for security reasons. Now to Balinyonga in the Mesam Division, northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. A congregation of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon has been set ablaze. Presbyterian Church Bufung in the Balinyonga subdivision was set ablaze last night, and of course the perpetrators have not yet been identified. It was reportedly set ablaze by some individuals who are yet to be identified. Take a listen to this eyewitness account of the incident.
I'm standing here as the parish chairman. I'm so worried about what has happened in Bufung as one of my congregation in the parish, because I was today working for the congregation of Bufung to see that we can manage and put up another building for the congregation. But to my surprise, they came and told me this afternoon that the church house is burned down. So when I heard that, I rushed and came up. What I saw was not what I can say a word. So right now, I don't know where I and the parishioners we have to begin. Because if you begin something that you, after the go ahead, something is behind, then you get a shock like this. So it is.
This way on Sunday. It's unbelievable.
Yes,
oh my God.
But chairman, please, can you just come closer? This is great. This is a great loss.
My brother, I cannot tell. I don't know. I don't know what has happened. We were here on Sunday. We had good service. I had to be here today for our group, only to come and see the house ablaze. I cannot believe this fire came from astray, because if anybody tells me that there was fire here yesterday, and this church is very conspicuous that people see it everywhere, I do not know. This is an evil plan. I cannot explain. I'm lost. We're here on Sunday. The congregation was full. Imagine we've lost everything that belongs to this church. I cannot understand. It's above my imagination. I don't know what to say. This is unbelievable.
It's a terrible situation.
I cannot understand. All benches, everything in this church is gone.
Yes.
Witnesses recounting and lamenting over what happened at PCC Bufung in Balinyonga subdivision, Mesam division, northwest region of Cameroon. In the report coming up next, Smart Jikam Gabriel talks about the impact of the Anglophone crisis and one of the hottest areas in the southwest region of Cameroon, Kumba in the Meme division, and he also looks at how the government delegate to the Kumba City Council has been struggling in the midst of the crisis to carry out some developmental projects within that part of the southwest region.
Kumba has been one of the towns in the southwest region that has been touched by the ongoing crisis in the Anglophone regions. The continued shutdown of the Kumba main market during lockdown and on ghost town days has greatly affected the revenue of the city council.
We found ourselves with a lot of financial difficulties because the money was never even enough to pay salaries and do some investment, which the budget always requires. That running cost, you have money for running cost and you have money for investment.
Apart from the main market, the little business operators along the road who could generate funds for the council have also witnessed a drop because of the ghost towns. Notwithstanding the present situation, the Kumba City Council has however succeeded to bring development to K-Town with the concreting of the main market and the park in town.
The market is there. If you go to the Central Motor Park, if you go to the Kumba market during the rainy seasons, you will enjoy the market because that mud that existed in the market today is free of mud. At the motor park, it was the Central Motor Park. You could not pass there during the rainy season. Even during the dry season, the dust that was there. But if you go to the Central Motor Park today, you will move there and enjoy to be there.
Through the HIMO project, the City Council has succeeded to solve the problem of flooding in the town.
This project was a project that could control the flood. They call it the Mambugise area. That now has controlled the flooding in Kumba. You can imagine that the whole rainy season in Kumba, there is very little flood around the areas that were there permanently on flood.
The people of Kumba will soon enjoy an ultra-modern grandstand that will cost the City Council 150 million francs CFA. Notwithstanding the crisis in the northwest and southwest region, the City Council is expected to provide job opportunities to its youth as several projects are expected to be executed before this year runs out.
Some of the mayors in the northwest region of the country were elected yesterday, and in the report coming up next, Stella Mbo takes a look at what the citizens, notably of the regional capital Bamenda, are expecting from the newly elected mayors. Her report.
Martin Tanjong, former SDF mayor of Tuba, has been re-elected. The CPDM list leader at the February 9th municipal elections won 30 out of the 35 votes, bringing together the 5 councillors who voted against him for the development of the municipality is prime to Mayor Tanjong Martin.
18 votes to win, another person with 17. So you have 30. So I'm very grateful to all the councillors and all the people of Tuba with confidence. I'm ready to continue my stewardship, saving them as I've been doing. I'm not going to have any grudge with anybody. I'm not annoyed of losing 1 vote or 5 votes. So my 5 sheep, I will be digging to know those 5 sheep that are missing to bring them back to the fold.
At the Bamenda 3 Council, the only retained by the Social Democratic Front Party in Mezam Division, the councillors renewed their confidence in Fongu Cletus for another 5 years. Bamenda 2 had the elections conducted at a Yaba Hotel with Peter Chenry emerging as mayor. The Bamenda 1 and Bafut councils will see their affairs piloted by Mbiga Felix and Gwakongo Lawrence respectively. Most of these municipalities lack roads, electricity, potable water to name these few. It is a wish of the inhabitants to see the promises made during the 2 weeks long campaigns a reality. The Anglophone crisis, which has prevented meaningful development and some of the mayors from being elected at their respective councils, is still on, but the clock is ticking already. 5 years from now, their report cards will be issued, and insecurity may be no excuse as these local representatives campaigned under similar circumstances.
Reporting there from the Northwest Regional Capital, Bamenda, in the Mongo Division littoral region of the country. The newly elected mayors have been urged by administrative authorities to work hard for the development and well-being of the respective municipalities and the inhabitants of those municipalities. From me, Armstrong Sander has more.
13 years after he lost his position as mayor of Njombe Penja in the Mongo division of the littoral region of Cameroon, here is Paul Erikingi once again as mayor of the same council. This time around under the banner of his Cameroon National Patriotic Movement's political party, Paul Erikingi got a landslide victory from his councillors. Removed from his position of mayor and sent to jail in 2008, Paul Erikingi, former CPD and party militant, says his priority project is to modernize and give Njombe Penja a facelift. Paul Erikingi believes the major problems of the people of Njombe Penja includes poor access to potable water, poor road network, insufficient electricity supply, and poor access to health facilities. In the neighboring Lom Council, Guy Wambo of the Social Democratic Front, as their political party picks a narrow victory for his second mandate at the helm of Lom. He is elected by 19 councillors as opposed to 17 in favor of his challenger. While thanking the people for another confidence bestowed on him, Guy Wambo assured the people of his experience that he believes will permit a total transformation of Lom. In Banga, still in the Mongo division of the littoral region, a woman is elected mayor for the first time in the history of the Mbanga Council. Henriette Ndale of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CPDM political party, while rejoicing victory, says the decentralization and local development demands of this era truly required a woman to better serve Mbanga. Throughout the elective session, the senior civil administrator for the area re-echoed the need for mayors-elect to work for the general good and not for individual interest. The mayors-elect will officially begin work after their respective installation ceremonies.
Nigerian authorities are stepping up the identification of the citizens, and of course this move from just national identity cards to national identity numbers, and all Nigerians are expected to have a national identity number. The process is already ongoing in Cameroon. It was launched today. Smaljic and Gabriel, rather Immaculate Fogwe reports.
Henceforth, all Nigerians will be identified through a national identity number. The identification process is well on course back home and across the world. In Cameroon, it was launched on Wednesday.
To ensure that the Nigerian is properly identified wherever he is, anywhere in the world. And it has a series of implications, both of which is for his personal security, so that he is not misidentified wherever he is, and globally, that is the trend now. Everybody has to be properly identified wherever they are. Besides, it's required to render services, which is also part of the identification process. So you want to know who particularly are you rendering the service to. So that reduces the possibility of imposters.
Nigerian authorities say it will be easy to properly identify all Nigerians wherever in the world with just the national identity card. It grants access into the National Information System containing information on all registered citizens.
This card is to your account, to identification all over the world. If you just give anybody here, America, anywhere in the world, they'll recognize you because everything about you is here.
You say your name is Mohammed Abubakar. You just come for an enrollment center like this. What is the unique identifier that verifies who you say you are? The National Identity Management Commission has been set by the federal government, and one of the core roles is to put in place an identity management system. The identity management system goes beyond issuing a card.
Nigerian consulate authorities have taken necessary measures to ease access to registration centers for Nigerian citizens in Cameroon.
I have discussed with the consultants and they assured me that it is going to be done simultaneously. So it's not going to be only in Douala. As they are doing in Douala, more machines are going to be provided according to the consultant. And they are going to be doing in Buya. We are going to also be doing in Limbe. And we are also going to do it in Bafoussam. So that those in Douala, in Bamenda, it's easier for them to drive from Bamenda to Bafoussam.
All Nigerians in Cameroon have been urged by their federal government representatives to join the ongoing identification train in a bid to contribute in building their country.
And we asked the Nigerian Consul General for Cameroon's littoral and west regions, His Excellency Safiu Olaniyan, the difference between the national identity card and the national identity number. He also talks about the financial requirements back home and in the diaspora. Take a listen.
The identity card is the picture card you see, which can be flashed anywhere, but the card also serves the purpose of being a MasterCard, which instead of having multiple bank cards, you could actually use your identity card, your national ID card as your bank card. So, and every other purpose you need identity card for. But for the number, you actually need the number to obtain services, to access every service you require, whether you want to register a company, you want to get a passport, you want to open a bank account, you want to revalidate your bank account, you want to register your SIM card, and a whole lot of service range that we do access. Back at home, initially it was free, but now I think there is some commitment on the part of Nigerians accessing the enrollment process. In the diaspora, depending on the region you are, for us here, it's $30 for adults, that is from 17 and above, and $20 or its equivalent for 16 downwards.
On a courtesy visit to the top management of Equinoxe Radio and Television today, the former Indomitable Lions striker, former Indomitable Lions captain, and a special advisor to the president of the Confederation of African Football, Samuel Eto'o, talked to journalists of Equinoxe on some of the burning issues in Cameroon, notably the security and socio-political challenges affecting the country in the northwest and southwest regions and other parts of President Paul Biya's country. And Innocent has compiled his views in this report. Indomitable Lions, or former Indomitable Lions captain and special advisor to the president of the Confederation of African Football, Samuel Eto'o, one of the best footballers of his time, was speaking to some journalists of Equinoxe Radio and Television shortly after the courtesy visit to the top management and after a discussion with the president or the board chair and managing director of the Equinoxe media conglomerate, Severin Chunke. He expressed his concerns notably over the issues happening in the northwest and southwest regions of the country and other socio-political and security crises affecting his country. Innocent Azi. We'll be coming back to that report in our subsequent news editions. Thanks for staying with us. In Talking Points, we are receiving human rights advocate Quinta Fon, is the gender officer at the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, a center created and of course presided at or over by a legal mind, Barrister Agbo Bala. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Abila Jonathan.
All right, Quinta, we're going to start with issues happening notably in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. You are a female gender advocate, and you're fighting for the rights of women, for justice, and so on. And many women, or women among the majority of the victims of the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions, many of them were killed in the Ngarbo incident in the Donga Mantum division in the northwest region. And what's your take on all what has been happening, or what has been said around that incident by the government, by non-governmental organizations? The president of the organization said that event was a very bad sign committed by elements of the National Armed Forces.
Thank you so much for having me once again, Mr. Babila Jonathan. I want to start by saying that it is quite a devastating news, the act that was committed against those women, those children, and everybody else at Ngabo. I want to start by saying that it is a condemnable act. It is inhuman, and the center has already put out a statement condemning such an act. It is outrightly devastating what happened to those people over there. So I want to start by saying that it is actually a very devastating thing. And just to add that this is one of the reasons why the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa came up with brochures to outline certain rules that combatants are supposed to follow, talking about the respect of the international humanitarian law. So those document like that outlines the principles of the international humanitarian laws and how the combatants are supposed to act in a time of a conflict. So that's a document that we have there at the center, and is going to be used to raise a lot of awareness about what is supposed to be done in a time like this, so that non-combatants are not affected, as the document stipulates.
All right. You've been certainly talking to some of the women who have been caught in the crossfire between the separatists and the military, some of the women who have been victimized by the crisis, and some of them who are witnessing what is happening. What is their state of mind? What have they been telling you about the situation?
Of course, it is, like I said, it's very devastating. It's very hopeless. I mean, like, the women, they feel like they have no hope. They have barely anything to hang on to. The experiences of the women out there, they are so many and they are different. The experiences that women will have from the women in the rural areas and the indigenous areas, their experiences are different from those in the semi-urban areas or in the rural areas. So it is different, and it also, there are a lot of things that go in play. You have situations where some women are married, but they only have, for example, maybe 2 children. Some have 6 children. So there are a lot that goes into play. But however, all of them are experiencing devastating effects. So many of them have left their homes. We know of hundreds of thousands who are displaced and things like that. So most of the times they will tell you they need support. They need humanitarian assistance. They need a lot of assistance. They need so many different kinds of support: housing, food, clothing, healthcare. I mean, it's just different. And most of the times they are crying and saying that we want an end to this.
They're traumatized.
Yes, like you said, they are traumatized. I mean, there are people out there who are not living, their experiences, but experience. I mean, it's having an effect on them. So it is definitely outrightly inhuman, and it leaves someone in a state of trauma. Yeah.
When you meet them, what do you tell them?
We have to give them hope. As gender activists, as feminists, we have to give them hope. You cannot add to the misery of people who are already miserable. In addition, we do have lots of services. I mean, we act as a referral point to these people. Some of them, they need health care. We assist them with referring them to healthcare services, and also supporting them with financial assistance. Recently, we've done several benevolent gestures to some of these victims out there around Boya, and some have been transferred to other parts of the country, and we've followed up. We've also networked with charitable organizations out there, yes, in the diaspora for assistance, and so it's just a whole lot of services that we're providing for them.
Lots of things that are being said, that are being done around those issues, around the happenings in the two Anglophone regions of the country, the killings, the destruction of properties, the burning down of houses and entire villages. We saw in this newscast the Presbyterian Church Bufung in the Balinyonga subdivision razed down to ashes. When you listen to these women, what do they think about government's management of the situation, the game of figures? The UN Human Rights Organ says 23, the government says 5. Other sources are talking of about 30 and more than.
It continues to leave them hopeless. It continues to leave them hopeless, because these are people who they are crying because they know what they are experiencing, and for them to hear something else, it feels like they don't have any right to living. For example, if one of the women who we met, she complained about losing, an X number of children, and she finds, the media talking about a different number of family members that she lost. It makes her hopeless. It makes her
reporting the official figures.
Right, because what she's saying is being argued. There's so many. I mean, it's a lot of controversy that's going on with all those numbers and figures, and the people who live these experiences, it makes them feel invaluable. It makes them feel less human. Like I said, hopeless. There's no need for living anymore if you cannot respect the loss the person is experiencing. If you cannot respect the rights of the people. So I'm trying to keep a whole lot not to dish out, but at the end of it, it comes to the fact that these people do not have their rights respected, and it is one of those things that it is really a big deal. It's a huge problem, and that is one of the main objectives of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, which is the promotion and the protection of human rights.
And you're fighting for justice for women. When you're talking about justice for women, what are you referring to?
Okay, when we talk about justice for women, and this comes about because on the 20th of February 2020, which is tomorrow, the world is going to be commemorating the World Day of Justice. And the theme for this event, if I may go ahead, Mr. Babila, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, please.
But I want to be able to give you my response based on that, so I cannot leave that. The gender perspective of social justice comes from the theme of this year, which says that the theme is closing the gap of inequalities to achieve social justice. Now we realize that inequalities is a global concern. It is, there is no nation that has been proven to achieve gender equality. And so if inequality is a problem, if inequality
it's a global problem.
It's a global problem that challenges social justice, and we know that gender inequality is still a very big problem, even in our context, especially in Cameroon with the conflict and all of that. Then there is need for us to raise awareness about it, to raise awareness about social justice and how it is directly related to the women. Because if there is no gender equality, if the rights of the women are not respected, there can be no social justice.
The rights of the women not being respected, especially in times of crisis like this.
Yes, and that is just one of the concerns. That's just one of the issues of social justice. That's just one of the issues. Talking about women's rights not respected, not being respected. First of all, before the conflict, the Cameroonian community is a community that is very patriarchal in nature. You find that the women have a secondary role to play while the men are given the primary role. I mean, so that gender inequality between the men and the women in sexes, when it comes to the sex, so it causes an imbalance, and with the conflict now, it has even worsened. So you realize that gender inequality, instead of our communities to be recording a success, the conflict has made it worse. And we find in the conflict zones, we find that women are in dying need of help more than ever before. They're in dying need for their rights to be respected more than ever before.
Many of them living in very precarious conditions in the bushes, unable to take care of their hygiene and many other needs.
I mean, there are so many. Talking about these women who they are IDPs, that's internally displaced women and girls in host communities, and their vulnerability has increased and has left them exposed to a lot of disrespect. And if you want to name the level of disrespect,
some are raped, some have become prostitutes.
Thank you. So there are just too many. Talking about not having shelter, talking about somebody threatening to throw you out of the house if they don't have sexual relations with you, and things like that. So I mean, there are just too many.
No, in this context, how relevant is the World Day consecrated to social justice? How is it relevant to Cameroonians in this context? It
is very relevant because if we do not achieve equality in all sectors of life, as in the gender sector, if we do not achieve equality, we are not going to have social justice. And this is so because the gaps that these inequalities leave are a threat to the realization of social justice. I'll give you an example. For example, if the women do not have access to health care, if the women do not have access to health care as it is right now in the conflict zones, where because of certain restrictions, women give birth to children in bushes and things like that, there is no social justice, because social justice is the justice that is between an individual and the society. So if that individual does not experience that fairness, that fair treatment, the fair treatment that she is supposed to get in the community, it means that she is living she's experiencing a situation of injustice,
and there will be an impact on mental development, even a physical development, and even on children.
Right. And I want you to understand that every experience that these women have out there, however it affects them, now it's not just limited, it's global. What I mean by this is that the world is now a global village. The world is now a global village. So any experience that an ex-community experiences, it affects the whole world. It affects the whole world, so much so that you may think that, okay, because the people of maybe the southwest region are experiencing this, look at the Cameroon economy. It's definitely affecting the economy of Cameroon as a whole, and the entire world in general. You will bear with me that. So the world is now a global village, and before Cameroon started experiencing the conflict, the United Nations in 2008 had set aside these days. Actually, they set aside the date in December 2007 that every February 20th, every
20th
February, yes, annually, okay, the world is going to observe the Day of Social Justice. And this is because they have said that this is very important for all communities to understand that they need social justice to be able to have a fair globalization.
All right, Quinta, what will you be doing tomorrow at the level of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in a bid to contribute to the fight against social injustice and inequalities?
Yes, the center has an event tomorrow at the conference hall. We are bringing together over 75 diverse community groups and persons. We're bringing them together to raise awareness about the need for social justice. We're bringing them together to engage in a coalition with them in order to address this issue of social justice, in the sense that together, wherever they're coming from, whether as chiefs of communities or quarter heads or employers, together, because these are all areas in which social injustice manifests in different ways, whether through unemployment, whether through gender inequality, whether disrespect of rights, whether denial of resources, whether refusal to access. So these are all areas in which social injustice manifests. And so it is our place to bring them. We as an organization, a human rights organization, we're bringing these communities together, these persons together, these influential persons in the communities. We're bringing them together to raise awareness about the need for social justice.
And also to equip them to
encourage them to get into a coalition so that together we can fight social inequalities.
All right, Quinta Fonyo, the gender officer at the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.